So today's podcast is about my brachy procedure because there is more negativity around having brachytherapy than what there is positive. And I think it's really important to share my journey and why I nearly didn't proceed with it, just in case there is anybody looking to make decisions in relation to their cancer journey. So if you're logging in or listening for the first time, rather, my name is Stacey and welcome to the Stacey M Show. I was diagnosed with stage 3C1 cancer back kind of November, December. And my treatment started the week of Christmas. And I've been pretty honest with sharing what my journey is. I'm coming through to the end of treatment, but there are lagging side effects. I just get incredibly tired very, very easy. So I have been doing some replays of podcasts that I've done in the past, but today is completely new. I've dropped the kids off at school. I need to run to the hospital shortly to get bloods. Because that is a new story of my life. But I think for me to go into more detail than what I have done through my socials is really important. So I am based in New South Wales, Australia. My treatment has been at the Mater Hospital, the Mater Hospital in Waratah or in Newcastle. And I know that different oncologists, different hospitals, different jurisdictions do things differently. So I suppose for me, I'm just going to be focusing on the brachy component because if there's something else that you want me to answer, I possibly have already answered it online, or I can do another podcast. But this one's just specifically in relation to the brachy procedure. So the background of me being really nervous about it is I joined a group which I am very careful about doing, but I think because I was so overwhelmed with all the information, I joined this group. Different jurisdictions in there, seems to be largely kind of American based. There's quite a lot of people in this group. And brachy at the start was something that I was always nervous about. So I had my 5 weeks of chemo, I had my 5 weeks of external beam, but it was still playing on my mind, and I delayed returning my forms because it just felt like such an invasive procedure. And then when I asked other people's opinions on it, it was all bad. Like there was nothing positive. Worst experience of my life. If I had cancer, I would never do it again. I was in so much pain. I was in hospital for a week with things in my vagina and not being able to move. Like it was absolutely horrid. And it was to the point where I now realize that my blood pressure was absolutely through the roof. Like my blood pressure when to go for my first brachy was like 194 over 100 and something. Like that's like nearly I should be dead. Like that's heart attack. That's really, 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 really bad. And my blood pressure had been more around the 120 over, I can never remember the bottom number. I have it all recorded, but it was like way too high. But I was stubborn. I didn't want to go on blood pressure meds because there was enough crap going in my body. But it was obviously something that had been playing on me for quite some time because after I had my first brachy, my blood pressure dropped back to normal. So it was obviously playing on my mind quite a bit. But so the people who had it were saying all those really negative comments. There was really nothing positive. On the other side of that, I was not comfortable with my radiation oncologist, and because it was a Christmas time, people were going on leave, she went on leave, and I asked to be moved to somebody else. But then I found out that she was going to be away for the brachy, so then I was back to the original. So that didn't help me either. And I was again like back to the point of like, oh my gosh, this is an incredibly invasive procedure. I refer to it as like Edward Scissorhanding my vagina, which probably didn't help, but nearly to the point without having the scissors on the end. There are tubes, I think there's like 3 from memory, that go into your vagina and you are stuck on your back. Like it's very, very invasive, but and it had just freaked me out. And when I went to go for, so you had to prep, so I had to come off my supplements as well, which I struggled with because my supplements had helped me so much with the external radiation and the chemo, but I had to stop taking them because the anaesthetist asked me to, because they didn't know what side effects, if any, there would have been from the supplements. And the supplements weren't anything bad, but so I've been off the supplements probably for maybe like 3 or 4 weeks now, so it's been a little while. And then I have been pretty good with emotions. I mean, I suppress emotions anyway, and that's another podcast and something else I have to deal with. But I, for the first time, first time in a while, I cried kind of like at the start of the journey with the diagnosis and stuff. But I actually cried, and I'm like, I'm getting teary now. I don't know if I can do this. I honestly don't know if I can go ahead with it. And kind of like the day before, I wrote down all of my concerns. So I don't even know whether I've got. Hang on, I'm going on my phone just to find what I had written down. I know I added things to it, so hopefully I remember what the rest of it was. But it was basically my list of non-negotiables, I suppose. So here they are. So the first time I had it, there was a little bit, before I had the procedure, there was a little bit of vaginal pain. My bowels had decided to work. There is no happy medium between having the trots and turtlenecking for the majority of your treatment. That's literally how it is. There's kind of like no normal bowels in between all of that. And I had diarrhea. So I was worried I was going to like shit myself, basically. I had a 3B tear with my first daughter. I said no pushing beyond any resistance. So until they're in there, they don't know what they're dealing with, I suppose. And you have an MRI before you have your treatment so I had one on the Friday, and then you have one again before the brachy procedure, like on that same day. So I said no pushing beyond any resistance. I'm not dealing with more crap than what I have to deal with now. If the placement is not straightforward or requires any force, then don't proceed. I know there was more on that. The pain side I wasn't too worried about because I knew that I could get something if I needed it. But I said, look, I've been very proactive with managing nausea. I don't usually get nausea under anesthetic, but obviously my body has been putting up with quite a bit for the past couple of months. I want you to give me the maximum anti-nausea stuff that I can have. So I know that was another one as well. And I also said, look, I would like a Valium type thing. I'm quite not comfortable with getting this done, and I would like to manage the anxiety because this is probably the worst I have ever been, and the blood pressure showed that. So that was the gist of it. If there was more than that, I can't remember, but that was what I took a photo of the morning of my first procedure. So before I got in the car, so in the kitchen, I think I had a bit of a breakdown. Outside, I had a bit of a breakdown. And then driving to the hospital, I'm like, I'm gonna shit myself. Oh my God. Like again, just all these different thoughts like rolling in my head. It was 8 o'clock check-in. So it was for day surgery, that's like a later check-in. So it wasn't 6 or 7, it was 8 o'clock that I had to be there. I didn't get in to see someone until about 9 when they did the pre-checks. That's when the blood pressure and everything happened. And I said, look, I'm like super like not comfortable. Like I'm really, really anxious about this. Like this is the worst I think I'd ever been. So I was very, very honest with the nurse who checked me in. I said, look, and I was allowed to have my Maxon. So I've been taking anti-nausea meds for 3 times a day. So I was allowed to have my anti-nausea meds. So that was good. And I said, look, I have diarrhea. So I'm concerned I'm going to crap myself in surgery and be that 10% that do. And if I did, I did. But it was obviously going to be very inconvenient if I did. And then the nurse is saying, I'm going to have to give you a colonoscopy. Colonoscopy? No, that's not the one. Enema. Sorry, I think it was enema. And I'm like, yeah, so no, that's not happening. That's not been added to my list of things to do. Can I not just take a gastro strop? Like, can I just do that instead? She's like, we don't have any. I said, no, I have some. So my drug bag was literally prepared with everything as it has been, and I had some in there. She goes, look, let me go into the theatre and ask. I got sign off for it. So I had my gastro stop. I said, I only take one. I don't need the two. And I know it's going to work. And it did. So that alleviated that part. I was very lucky that I knew a nurse in the prep and the recovery stage. So there was someone else from like where I went to school, like where I grew up. So that was comforting to know. She knew that I was obviously very, very anxious, and she made me feel, I don't know whether she was doing her job or whether she did over and above what her job was, but she was doing her best to make sure that I was comfortable and okay, which she did really, really well. And then she was there for the second one too. So we'll find out whether she's there tomorrow for the last one. But so that helped as well. So I was laying there for probably, I think I went back out to Lee, and then they called me back in again. So that might have been around 9:30, quarter to 10 or something. And you strip down, you put the gown on, so you have no clothes underneath. It's just the gown. You have your I had the compression socks on. I had like a hair piecey thing. I'm assuming the compression socks were because you're literally on your back all day. Had the hair net thing in, and yes, just laying on a bed with like a heated thing on top. I can't describe. I actually don't know what it's called, but I was laying under a heated thingamajiggy. It wasn't a heated blanket. It was like a heated blow up thing where they connected this machine thing to it to pump hot air in. Then eventually I got wheeled in to the next stage where I met the anaesthetist, who was really, really nice. And I got that sheet of paper out. Sharon, who is like the amazing nurse that's been looking after me, knew where I was at with everything. And obviously because I had changed oncologists, and then that was the first time I saw her again, like the old one, because the new one was overseas, having her Christmas holiday. I was like even more like peaking type thing. So so I met the anaesthetist, and then Sharon was there, and then the oncologist was there, and I just went through what that list is. I said, look, my blood pressure was like really high. I was like 194 over whatever it is. I have my list here. Like I'm like the most anxious I think I have ever been. I really don't think I have been to that degree before. And I read the list out. They acknowledged all of my concerns. Obviously, they had to still get my consent to proceed. And I went, yes, I will still get it done. I'm just very, anxious kind of thing. And I was getting to the point where I was just getting sick and tired and poked by needles. Like I can't tell you how many needles I have had in the past 2 months, but it's a shit ton. So, and the anaesthetist was like, that's fine, we'll just give you some local, then we'll put the cannula in. Because usually when you go into surgery, it's here. That's where the needles are going in, or kind of down here. And, I've bruised quite a bit, which I don't usually do. Like that was last week's immuno, and there's nothing on my arm. That's kind of first brachy and like week 4. Can't get my wrist around, and that's like week 4 chemo. So, but I got cream for that now, but that's something different. Yes, so she goes, that is all completely fine. We'll make sure that we manage any nausea that you have and give you whatever it was that they were going to give me. They gave me something called I think she calls it a pink champagne. It's called different things between different anaesthetists, but essentially it's kind of like a Valium-like thing where it calms you down. So I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And I said, look, again, I'm kind of not worried about the pain. If that comes up, I'll let you know. But that's the main two are the severe anxiety that I'm having and not wanting to get nauseous, because the show will be over if I get nauseous. So I just knew that I had to be controlled. Anyway, I don't remember a hell of a lot. I remember getting the local anesthetic in my hand, bit of a sting, not that bad, jibber jabbing to someone. It could have been about going through that list I had. And next thing you know, the Kenla's in. She goes, right, okay, we're gone. And then I was through to the theatre. You lay on a sheet because they're moving you so much, and they have to be very careful because you literally have like these 3 tubes coming out of your vagina. You're on like a mat thing where they can pick you up and put you over. So I think I vaguely remember doing that. Other than that, I've got nothing. So whatever they had gave me, which I'm assuming was just that pink champagne, I was out to it. Like I don't remember talking. I don't remember counting. I don't remember anything. But apparently there were conversations that were had because they were asking me if I had remembered anything, and I had nothing. So I was obviously semi-conscious or something, but I literally don't have any recollection of that. I actually don't recall waking up in recovery either. Maybe little small bits and pieces, but for that first brachy, I don't recall that either. I vaguely remember saying, yeah, I've got my clothes in the locker. If you make sure you get that, and then make sure you call Lee because he's hanging around, because you're allowed to have somebody with you once you go back downstairs into the radiation part. So I was on level 4 for the surgery, radiation's on level 3. So I vaguely remember that component. Kind of remember going in the elevator to go downstairs to level 3. I don't remember getting wheeled through anything or going into the bed. And yeah, they end up like finding Lee. I think he went for a walk or something. So this has probably been about an hour and a half, I think. So it wasn't a hell of a lot of time that I was in like the surgery area. Sorry, before I got taken off to the radiation part, you have to go for your MRI. So when I came downstairs in the elevator, I went straight to the MRI. Again, I'm on the mat thing. So I get moved into the mat. Now I had an MRI on the Friday as well, because I wanted to see just what they were dealing with, I suppose. And they said, look, doesn't look like we're going to have any issues getting anything in you. It looks pretty mushy, looks good. And then for each brachy treatment, there was another MRI as well. So I got taken into the MRI. So you're laying on this thing. Yes, you still have the probe things coming out of your vagina. They strap you in, they put my music on, I put my headphones on. There's what are they called? Like earplug things that go under, because the MRI machine's quite noisy. Put your headphones on, and I actually think I fell asleep in that first one. She obviously she drugged me up very, very good with that pink champagne stuff. So I don't remember much of that at all. MRI might go for like 7 to 10 minutes. It is whatever it is. Obviously, it's an MRI, but you shouldn't be having jewelry on anyway because you're going into surgery. Make sure your nails are not painted either. Otherwise, you'll be madly trying to get them taken off before you go into surgery. I learned that the hard way when I had my first daughter. But yeah, and then your MRI is done. They put you back on the bed. So you're still in the gown with the probes coming out of your vagina here. When they move you, it like inflates. So it's not like you kind of go floppy or anything. Like they inflate whatever the thing is, and then they move you, and that's how they move you. But it obviously has to be done very carefully because you can't damage, like, the probes that are put inside you. You go under for that. So I think it was an option to have a spinal block, like an epidural, which I didn't want. I wanted to be completely unconscious. And I think that's the route most people do. If there's an issue, maybe that's when you go the epidural. But I had issues with the epidural with my second daughter, with trying to get the needle in the back. So for me, it just knocked me unconscious. I don't want to know what you do to me when I'm asleep. So yeah, I get blown back up and put back on the bed. That was when I go into like the hold waiting area thing. So there's other people that were there. You have your own curtains. You're not in a separate room, like, so you hear stuff, and literally just treated it like a chemo day, I suppose. So ended up finding where I was. They give you some food to eat and something to drink. We had the Uno cards there again. I'd already downloaded things from Netflix, so we're watching things from Netflix. But because I was a bit dopey, I think we were actually watching Hangover. But I was tuning in and out because I didn't have the capacity to watch anything that I had to think about. And then in that time, the oncologist and the nurse and physicists, and there's a whole big massive team that basically look at the MRI and put together your plan. Now I knew I was the last, so there were 2 people in front of me, so there were 3 brackies that day, including me. That team has to put together a plan for those 3 people, so that can take a couple of hours. So there's a lot that goes involved. There's a lot involved in that planning. But honestly, because we treated it like a chemo day, like our chemo day has been pretty quick. This time went pretty quick. And then they obviously keep checking on you and whatever, making sure you're not in pain, making sure you don't feel sick. If you have anything, just make sure you let them know. I think I had like 2 Panadol at the start with the nurse who checked me in way back before I went under. I had half an endone because I thought, okay, well, I probably don't need a full, I don't have pain. But because I was so nervous about going into getting the internal radiation, I said just for half an endone, which I don't know whether it did anything or not. But I think it actually made me feel a little bit unwell for the second one. But it was different anaesthetist for the second one as well. So I think there were just a few things different. I don't think she quite followed what I'd asked her to follow, which, you know, that's done. I think I should have the first anaesthetist tomorrow when I go back for my last brachy. But just communicate anything if you're feeling nauseous, if you're feeling pain. There were a couple of times I thought, crap, because you have a catheter in as well. It's like, did I just wee myself? Did I just crap myself? Like, there's just different feelings where you kind of, you know, and then you're waiting like for a smell. Like it's just, you're just so vulnerable. Which I know that would be everything that they're used to, but yeah, so there are definitely a few moments I'm kind of like doing this one's going, did that just happen? Did you hear that? Was I asleep? Did I dream that? Like, but nothing ended up happening anyway. So eventually, once that plan is put together, you get wheeled through into where they give you treatment. So for me, I can't remember his name. So I had Titan for my external beam. I think it's Atlantis. I need to take a photo of that because, yeah, I'm not quite sure what his name is. But at the MARTA, there was different names for the machine. So my external beam was Titan. I think my internal beam is Atlantis. I'll have to double check tomorrow. But anyway, they wheel you into the room. They connect the source to the tubes that are coming out of your vagina, like with little cap things. There could be questions asked. I can't quite remember. I think it's probably just more double checking that you're all okay. And then they know what music I like, so they put my music on, and I lay there and I listen to the music. Depending on how old the source is, so depending on how old the radiation is, how long it goes for, they tell me how long to expect. So I think I can't remember what the first one was. I think it was 7 minutes. I want to say the second one was maybe 11 minutes. But if they don't tell you how long it is, then you just ask. So, and then I associate that to how many songs that is. I'm like, okay, so at 7 minutes, that's like 3 to 4 songs. Like that's it. That's all I have to do. And they put the music on that I want. So, and then when the source is happening, so brachy, it's instead of the external beam targeting everything, so like bowels and intestines and cervix and everything, this is just specific to where the rods are. You literally, I did not feel anything. I didn't feel anything with external beam either. I don't think there is anybody that felt anything when the source was going in, but I literally, you hear the machine go on and off, and then that's it. So literally did not feel anything. When I'm getting treatment and assuming I don't get sidetracked with the music, and I did the same with the external beam, I would just keep saying, I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed. And I would just say that like over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then sometimes I would get sidetracked and I'd start singing, and then I'd bring myself back and I'd go, I'm healed, I'm healed. So that's just what I would keep saying to myself. And before, the treatment's done, and then they come into the room. They then take everything out. So the first thing they do is they disconnect, well, they make sure that the radiation is gone. So they come in with like this machine thing, which the external beam guys, I don't think did, but the internal beam do. Must be just procedure for something. Then they unplug the source from the tubes. Then the tubes come out, and then effectively it's like you breathe like you're having a baby. So for a guy, well, this is only, they only do cervical cancer there. I know Brachy is used for different cancers as well. So sorry, guys, if you're listening to this for prostate or whatever, I don't know what that procedure is, but to get everything taken out, you're literally breathing like you are pushing out a child. So it's like, and then you're trying to leave your bottom down. So I'm pretty sure that there's 3 probes, tubes, whatever they're called. It doesn't necessarily hurt. It's just maybe uncomfortable. I don't know what the word is, but it's maybe uncomfortable. So it doesn't, for me, it didn't hurt. It was just uncomfortable. But then you get the relief because the things are out of your vagina. So they pull the 3 out. Actually, I think they pull the catheter out first. So that doesn't hurt either. It's just like a tug, I suppose. And how I've just said tug, that just made me go a bit ugh, because I don't want that image of them tugging that out. But it's so the catheter will come out again. It's just more of a relief and well, it is a tug, a pull, I suppose. Then I think it's the 3 proby things that come out. Then the last part is the gauze. So there's gauze in there holding everything in there. I describe that like you have a carton of tissues or rag or whatever, and you just keep pulling like, and it just like never ends. That's what that feels like. Again, it's not that it hurts, it's just uncomfortable. And they stop and start for what you need. But pretty well, you're literally breathing through it, and then you're doing your best to keep your bottom down and not tense, because you don't want to tense, because they're obviously trying to take everything out of you. So you're multitasking, trying to not tense your vagina, breathe, and keep your ass down effectively while your legs are spread. And I struggled to do that when I had my kids, so I literally have somebody holding my legs open, like, you know, you're trying to stuff a chook, but we're trying to unstuff a chook in this case. So yeah, the nurses are trying to hold my legs open at the same time as trying to take things out. So it's very, very glamorous. You put your vagina right there to the world for the whole entire treatment, so it's just something you're gonna have to get used to. And then that's out, and then that's it. So there could be a little bit of bleeding. I've been pretty lucky that there has only been like minimal bleeding. So then you get wheeled back to where your bay is, and you get changed. They give you a pad in case there is in case there is bleeding. You give yourself a bit of a bath. So they kind of like have hot, warm, soapy water and like, not rag, but whatever they give you to clean down there. And a towel to dry. Then you get changed, and they ask you to go pee pretty well straight away. So to be able to go home, you have to pee. So I've been able to do that for both procedures. You still have the cannula in, so that comes out. That was probably the worst part of a lot of it, was just taking the cannula out, even for chemo, and because most of the needles are kind of like along here. I don't know why it took me so long. I actually started to shave my arms to see whether that would work, and it has. So I now shave my arms. So taking the bandage and everything off, because it's pretty secure, doesn't hurt anymore. So shaving arms, I now do. I wish I'd done it earlier. If you don't want to do that, you can use alcohol wipes. It does take quite a bit, and it takes time for the nurses to do that. So I just literally have shaved my arms now, and it's been such a better experience. So, but yeah, once you pee, you can go home. Now, my first procedure, we're at hospital from 8, and I don't think we left until about 5:30. So big day. The second one had to be at hospital by 8:30. pretty well the same. Left about 5:30. So another really, really long day. I did start to feel a bit nauseous. As I said, I did have a different anaesthetist. And I stated, so she was basically going to go straight into putting cannulas in and stuff. I'm like, hang on, like, you need to go back to the notes from last week, please, because I want the same thing to happen. And she kind of looked at me like I was joking. I'm like, no, you need to see what happened last week. This is briefly what it is, but I need the same for this. So yeah, anyway, I'm happy to have the second one back, the first one back tomorrow. I'm told that she's meant to be back. So I did stand my ground. Did take her 2 goes to get in, and she did bruise, and she put the local in but didn't wait for the local to kick in, so I actually felt everything. Then she had to give me more local because she stuffed up, which I'm sure she didn't do on purpose. But yeah, so the experience definitely was different. I did feel a little bit like I was heading towards nausea, so I don't actually know what she gave me. The nurse did check, and I can't remember what it was, but I did take I can't remember what I had. I don't know whether I had a Maxilin or whether I had Zofran, and I can't remember whether it was my stash I had or the hospital stash. I can't remember, but I don't know whether it was the half of the pain tablet. I can't think what it's called now. I had half a endone. I don't know whether it was the endone either. So I was fine, and I didn't crap myself for that either. But so I managed that. So I just make sure that I always have all my drugs on me anyway, just in case the hospital doesn't have any. So and then tomorrow I have my third. So, and I'm excited to get it done. I'm hoping I get into hospital just that little bit earlier. I'm actually really excited to get my nails painted because I've been so patient in wanting to get my nails done, and then starting my supplements again, which I'll probably start the day after on the Wednesday. So, what did come positive out of that group is that I did actually meet somebody half hour down the road from me, like 20 minutes down the road from me. So out of this group that had hundreds of thousands of people in it, actually met somebody local who was getting treatment at the same hospital that I was at. So that was very good. I don't know whether I'm going to stay in the group or leave. I feel like I needed to tell my Brachy story, and I actually went back to my post and everything was so negative. And then I went, look, you know what? My experience was actually pretty positive. If anyone has any questions, reach out to me, but I'm glad I got it done. So because if you were to go into that group as somebody newly diagnosed with cervical cancer, you would probably crap your pants. And I had said from day one that I'm not doing this for attention. I'm doing this for prevention, to put it out there that you need to have all of your checks. It's not just for pap smears. Guys need to have their prostate done. You need to have breast done, women, skin checks, teeth, like anything. You need to go have that done. So, and prevention is much better than cure or early detection. So, I had my pap smear done last year. Maybe I would have stayed at stage 1 or stage 2, not stage 3. I don't know. I can't dwell on it because it's done. And to share the journey that I've had and what I've done to make that journey easier. So, and the amount of people that have come to me saying, oh, we just got all my checks done. Thank you so much. Like that's what I want. Like, this can be very much either avoided or detected early. So, yeah, and that's what I would like to do. So yes, it was vaccinated as well, but my understanding is that you have to have the vaccination before you're sexually active, which is why the vaccinations have come in earlier for kids. I'm not having the anti-vax debate. Get it done, don't get it done, whatever. That is up to you. But yes, I did have it, but I was kind of like mid-20s by the time I had it. So did it do something? Maybe it did. I don't know. Most cervical cancer is caused by HPV 16 and 18, and mine was neither of those. So it was through some other source. But yeah, so to get back to the Brachy, that was my experience. But and that is my experience at my hospital in New South Wales, Australia. If you are in a different part of Australia, it could be a different procedure. I know sometimes people stay in overnight, and they kind of hit you for a day or two, so you don't have to go back. So mine was once a week for 3 weeks, so it was every Tuesday. I know there's different things like that as well. So, but that was my experience. If you have questions at all, just please reach out. I'm more than happy to answer them. I think I've been pretty detailed though, with what my experience was. And yeah, as I said just before, like prevention is like way better than going through what I've gone through for the past couple of months. So if you have not up to date with your checks, whether it's teeth, breast, prostate, pap smear, whatever, skin, whatever else there is out there, please make sure your checks are done regularly. So, you know, whether it's 6 monthly, 12 monthly, or 5 yearly, whatever it might be, please make sure that they're done. And anything you're concerned about, please make sure you go find a doctor who's going to listen to you. You know, your gut feeling is usually pretty spot on. So if you feel like a doctor's told you it's nothing and you're feeling like it's something else, please go find another doctor. And kind of don't stop until you have the answers that you need. Maybe you need to go for an MRI, maybe you need to go for a PET scan. I don't know. But just, yeah, make sure that anything that you're concerned about is addressed. But I think that's all I wanted to say. So thank you for listening. There was probably TMI in that, but that's literally what happens. It's, you know, you literally have your vagina out a hell of a lot with cervical cancer, so you have to get comfortable with that. And they're obviously used to seeing that, like, that's the area that they do. I mean, they see other different you know, people with different cancers and things like that, but knowing that someone has cervical cancer, they know that they're going to see your vagina. So it's just how it is. So but yeah, so thank you again for coming on this journey with me. And so if you have any questions, please do let me know, and please share this with somebody who may need to hear it. One, just a reminder to go get checked so they can avoid what I've had to go through. Or somebody that is on their journey of cervical cancer, and you know, they have some concerns or questions, or it's very overwhelming. Like the amount of information that they smash you with, I really don't think I started to process it until I was coming up to my bracchies, and I had 5 weeks of treatment. So there's just a lot of information. You don't know what side effect is from what, whether it's from the radiation, from the chemo. Sometimes the doctors have to have words because they don't agree on things and all sorts of stuff. But you can only control what you can control. So just voicing your opinion and your concerns, and making sure that they're addressed. So once again, thank you. Please enjoy your day. Share this with someone who may benefit from it. And I will catch you next time. Bye.